Today we're at Van City Bulldog Cafe with actor, producer, and writer James HUTSON and Tim Laplante.
Hey, this is James HUTSON from Dark Harvest, and you're watching What's Your Story, Vancouver?
Hi, my name is Tim Laplante, producer for Dark Harvest.
So guys, how did you guys meet?
We met in acting class. We worked on, I think we worked on Zoo Story together.
Okay.
You were probably the crazy guy, Jerry, and then we shared the same agent for a lot of years.
James, you're from Vancouver, born and raised. Tim, where are you from?
I grew up in Kelowna. I'm British Columbian. Yeah, BC boy, but I grew up on Salt Spring on the Sunshine Coast. Been a Van East fan the last 25 years.
Is this your first time producing?
Yeah, it's my first time producing film. I produced theater prior to this. James showed me the treatment and asked me if I wanted to produce, and I was kind of surprised with that. And then basically it was just a glorified slave. He's just he just used the producer. It was this credit to sucker me in. No, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, Tim's been totally indispensable for the film, and he was the first producer, potentially the first person I quote unquote hired for the film. We went for dinner a couple years, maybe 4 years ago. We went out for dinner just to reconnect because we hadn't seen each other in a bit, and I bumped into him on the street, and we've been meaning to get together for dinner. We went out for dinner, and then I was like, hey, I want to make this movie, and I know you've never produced a movie before, but we're buds and you have a good business sense, and it'd be cool if you help produce it. And so that's how it started.
Can you tell us what the film is about? What's the premise?
It's a murder mystery. It's a noir movie that takes place in a cannabis world. And the beginning of the movie, pot is illegal, and at the end of the movie, it's legalized. And the movie takes place in that gray area. So in that gray area, there's a lot of room for police to go for a last grab or take care of some old debts that are owed. And for growers, it's their last chance to cash out. And some growers are going to foresee the corporate cannabis industry, and some of them aren't. So it's a transitional period that the movie swims in that I think makes it unique. I think it's unique because of its authenticity. It was filmed in real grow-ups. We have Cheech, we have all these people that are affiliated with marijuana, real hydroponic stores. We're doing this interview in a dispensary. So it's authentic, and I think it will go down in history as a historical movie because it takes place in this gray area of illegal to legal.
When you had the script already finished, okay, you set it all in motion. You got a casting director, you got a crew, you got all that stuff. I mean, like, from time you started shooting until
there was kind of a false start around 5 summers ago where I had the script. I had our friend Alan C. Peterson, who was a teacher of mine and a friend, and I had an old Chevy Caprice. So I had the car, I had myself and another actor, and I had a couple buddies with Canon 5Ds. And so that summer I had the script, and I was like, I'm going to make the movie this summer. And I started to film with this friend of mine as the cop, who was still the cop in the movie. And over a month we shot 5-6 days with a couple friends. And at that point I was the writer, the director, the co-star, the director of photography, the sushi guy. I was doing so many things that I realized a month in, I was like, well, I'm way over my head. And it was heartbreaking because I had to pull the plug on the production, and I was like, I'm not going to make my movie this summer. So I had to stop it. A producer that I met on another movie told me you should make a 2-minute teaser or trailer with the footage that you have, because I was filming, I had great stuff. And I did that. So I filmed a little bit more to round out a teaser. And then I took that 2-minute trailer and I started talking to people in Vancouver and LA, and people don't want to read scripts. It takes half a day to read a friend's script or anybody's script, but they watch a 2-minute trailer and say, oh, there's some cool acting in there and this is a cool idea. And then people just, without seeing the script, were like, I'm down. That was big actors, crew. And so it was a year later that we put together a real crew that it ended up being 100 people coming and going over that summer. So there was a false start for one summer, and then I ditched all that footage. There might be one shot for like 4 seconds in the final movie from that shoot. But once we had a real crew together, it was a couple years of filming. It shouldn't be that long, but there was some filming, then you stop, edit, realize, you need these more pieces of this puzzle, or the story that I wrote, these elements are looking really strong and these ones aren't, and so the story starts to show itself. In this case, I don't know about other people's experiences, but the movie started to reveal itself in some ways, so that required a lot of continual writing and continual shooting. So there was a couple years of filming it and then a year of post-production, and now, surprisingly enough, almost a couple years of promoting the movie and figuring out the distribution channels, which every job has been hard. The writing was hard, then getting the crew together was hard, then filming it is incredibly difficult, and then you think you've crossed these hurdles that are the final hurdle, and then you get to another one, and then it's editing, and it's like, well, that took a year and a ton of money and a ton of time with a lot of different people, myself included, editing. And then it's the festivals, and then all of a sudden and then people would say, hey, James, you finished the movie, like, great, and you're winning festivals, but then you go to Hollywood to try to get it on people's televisions or computers, and that may be proving to be the hardest job of all, which is kind of crazy to say.
So what's the biggest thing you've learned from this production?
You need a lot of people. So Tim's one of the producers, and as much as he jokes about how he was a glorified producer, I need a lot of people like Tim. Tim was instrumental, hooked up a lot of different things. All the people in the credits for the movie, the producers, the co-producers, all the crew, they all did something and had some specialty that was instrumental to helping make this movie as a team. So that would be the biggest lesson is you can't do it all yourself, and it's tricky because Tim's an actor, I'm an actor. I've seen this man produce his own plays and act in those plays, and that's what you have to do to get your career going. And maybe people will look at this movie and this interview and say, well, these guys made this movie with Cheech Marin, and that's the path, and I really would say that is the path. But if you're one person like me that writes and says, I'm going to make this movie, at some point you can't just be alone. You have to say, I'm going to need a whack of people to help me. So that would be the biggest thing is, yes, do it, jump off the cliff and do it, and surround yourself with a lot of people that have the right energy and vibe. And that's what's maybe kind of funny about Tim is, like, if you go to Hollywood or Hollywood production and you see the producers, they maybe fit a certain mold or they have a certain job that's defined as far back as film school, and Tim's job, probably you wouldn't find that at film school, but Tim's a producer, and Tim put together serious components that make this movie what it is.
Okay, well,
yeah.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from this whole, being a first-time producer?
Oh, I don't know how to answer that. It was a crazy learning curve, and then because it's Canadian independent film, I was able to put on a lot of different hats and do a lot of different things, and the sort of the sinker, what really got me in the producer role was he had named one of the characters Sergeant Coulson, and we all look up to an actor, Bernie Coulson, that we all looked up to him in the 80s, 90s. He did a lot of work in the past, and he's quite the character, and it just, I knew how to get a hold of him, and that was securing him for our movie really helped, and then it was, then it's all about making shit happen, with whatever you have to, manifest, and I'm still learning, Speaking of Cheech, how did you secure Cheech, and what was your first experience like meeting him?
While making the film, and this isn't true for all films, but when I started to make the film, my idea was I want to make a cool film that I think is genius, and a piece of art. That's all I started with. And then as we were filming, and as I started to get my feet wet a little bit with how this movie was going to be received and sold, started to realize like, you're going to need a few of these kind of cliche Hollywood elements that originally I would have said, nah, I'm too cool for that, I don't need that. But there's certain things that I started to believe were needed to help get the movie to a place where I wanted it to go exposure-wise. And it's the right genre. It's a crime movie. There's some violence. There's tension. It's noir. So it's the total. There's drugs. There's prostitute. There's sex. So it's got all these great elements that are in a lot of Hollywood movies, and there is an audience for those things. And then the thing missing was a star. And so I wrote a part for Cheech Marin. And the good thing about my writing at that point is, like I said, I was writing for the 2 years while we were filming. I was writing for the years before we were filming. And while I was writing while we were filming, I could start to see, the writing was working like this, or these things weren't working. So my writing was getting better, and I could see what was working, and I was getting more experience from the page to what was filmed to what I edited. And that's a big learning curve there. And so by the time I wrote the part for Cheech, I think my pencil was pretty sharp as far as the writing looked good, the character description was probably my best, and so when I sent it to Cheech, it was in top shape, and he responded to the script. I sent it through our casting director to his agent, and within 24 hours I got a response. He likes the writing, and the response from the agent wasn't much game playing. It was like, he wants to do the movie, let's make it happen. Now there was a bunch of stuff that he made it sound simple, but the cool thing is that the message was, he wants to do the movie. And it was up to a bunch of us to make that happen. So then I flew down to his house. That was pretty interesting. I don't know if I was nervous or not. I mean, I wasn't super nervous because I was proud of the writing and proud of all the work I'd done. And when you work hard for something, maybe it's less of a surprise. So then I went to his house, knocked on his door, rang his bell, and then he kind of, behind his gate, I came shuffling out, and he was like, hey, and I was like, hey, and then I came into his house, and we sat in his kitchen for a couple hours and talked about his life and my life. And during that conversation, he just said point blank, he said, so you realize you need a star? And I was like, yeah, I do, actually, I need a star for my fucking movie. And I said, what I just told you, I said, I realized through making this movie that I need, that the people I look up to, David Lynch, for example, they make art films, but they have sex, they have violence, they have movie stars, they have these elements, and Cheech says that's the first thing that they make sure is in there. So then at some point in that conversation, he was like, so where did the money come from to pay for Cheech? And I said, that was my money. I said, I mortgaged my house to make this movie. And his face just dropped, because at that point we talked for an hour or two and we liked each other, and he could tell I was this actor guy that was like putting everything on the line to make this film. And yeah, you could see his face just drop, and I think he was like, oh shit, like I need to help this kid. Like I just had my agents and lawyers play Hollywood with this guy who's an independent guy. So we hung out for a couple hours, and then he was like, at the end of the couple hours, he was like, I like you, I like the writing. He was like, let's go up to Vancouver and film this movie.
Oh, you mentioned Larry Moss. You also studied with Ben Kingsley,
yeah.
Sir Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, so, Sir Ben Kingsley.
How was that experience?
So I went to Oxford University for a summer Shakespeare program, and during that summer, the heads of Oxford University chose me to perform Waiting for Godot, and Ben Kingsley was going to come in and direct, and we were going to perform it in front of the school. I was pretty stoked. To say the least. I was more nervous and excited then than the Cheech thing probably. Yeah. I was younger and less experienced. So I prepared Waiting for Godot. The great thing about that experience was, Ralph Fiennes came, Judi Dench, Alan Rickman, Kevin Spacey, everybody came to teach us. It was a very exclusive schooling. And the great thing about, but Ben Kingsley was the crown jewel of the teachers that were coming. And because I was chosen to do the play, what was cool was all these head honchos in the university kept checking in with me every day because they wanted to make sure it was really good. So when Ben came to direct, that the shit was super tight. So they would check in. They started to like check in with me every day. How you doing? And running the scenes with me to prepare me because they just wanted to make sure that it looked good. So I got on stage with Ben and did Waiting for Godot, and he directed, and we hit it off. And then at the end of the play, he was like, "You want to go to the pub and get some beers?" And then we became friends, and so much so that I was in dialogue with him about potentially playing a character in this movie, but that character I wrote out of the movie. So hopefully the next movie will have something right to approach him with. So, but yeah, that was a game changer. That was a game changer because, you know, when you have contact with these greats, including Cheech or, you know, Al Pacino I've acted with, and Hilary Swank, and I don't want to name drop too many, but, you know, you start having contact with these people and acting with these people and directed by these people. There's osmosis, and just being in their presence, you get something from that. And
what did you pick up from these people? Like, what have you learned from these? Like, just their work ethic, or just
work ethic for sure,
process, or like
work ethic, hands down. So I've spent time with Phil Collins, workaholic. Ben Kingsley, you know, had done 19 Shakespeare plays before he did Gandhi. So people think he just came out with Gandhi, but 19 Shakespearean plays at the Royal Shakespeare Club is a lot of work. Cheech is like, you know, people probably think he's a stoner, but he ain't no stoner. He's an art collector. He's, you know, he beat Anderson Cooper on Jeopardy. He's very well spoken, and he's a highly articulate, hard-working man. He's 71 years old, and his schedule's busy. Every time I hang with him, it's always you know, he's working here, I'm working here, and try to fit it in and stuff. So definitely work ethic would be, I'd say that's all it is. I'd say that's all it is. All these people that, Hilary Swank and Al Pacino, Robin Williams, Phil Collins, all these people that I've been lucky to have contact with our work, and I picked that up. That's the main thing I picked up, and it started with Phil Collins because my ex-girlfriend is Jolie, and so I spent a lot of time. Jolie's dad is Phil Collins, so I spent a bunch of time with Phil, and that I was young, so I was 25. You know, and so that was a lesson I really needed at that time, because as a 20s actor, I kind of thought it was easy, and I don't think I was working as hard. I thought I was working hard, but you need people, Larry Mosses, to tell you what it means to work hard. I think that's the problem for a lot of actors, is they don't know, and that's where a guy like Larry Moss is huge. I asked Larry Moss, what should the life of an actor look like? And he'll say, okay, every month you should have 3 new monologues. You should be trying those monologues with different accents, with colds. You should read 3 plays a week. You should be doing voice exercises, like 8 hours of acting exercises and acting work every day. And actors need to know that's what it takes. That's what it takes, and then doing what Tim did, which is produce his own play, and Tim and I did, which is make your own movie. I don't know if you should follow down our road, because this has taken up a lot of years and a lot of money to make this movie, but hey, I wanted to make a movie, and I have to remind myself the movie's made, and we have a bona fide movie star in it, and people like the movie, and that's pretty good. It just took longer than I thought. I'd like to make more movies.
It always does. Well, your learning curve, right? Like,
yeah.
It's your first big one, I suppose, right? And
yeah.
And you learn from that, and the next one will be hopefully easier.
Totally.
Any advice, Tim, for upcoming actor or wannabe producer?
Never give up. Never give up. Keep the dream alive.
Well, did any of these people that you worked with drop any wisdom on you? Did they?
Larry Moss has said to me, work, work, work. 3 words.
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley said, dare to be yourself. That's a huge one. And yeah, those are the 2 ones. Those are the 2 ones that stick out. Dare to be yourself and work, work, work.
Okay. you've done the festival circuit, James. What have you entered this movie into, and you've won a few awards as well.
Yeah, we did about 9 or 10 festivals in a short amount of time, about 4 or 5 months, and we picked up a lot of awards. We got 3 Best Actor awards, 2 for Cheech, 1 for myself, a director nomination, and 7 Best Picture wins. And a bunch of those are audience chosen awards, which are they mean a lot, you know. And if the jury picks you, great, but the audience, I mean, that's what you really want, is the audience to really resonate with the film. So that was fun, and we won a lot of awards in a short amount of time. And so I started saying no to festivals, because how many laurels do I need on the poster? And I was flying to these cities, so it's costing money. And the producers in Hollywood that are helping sell the movie said, hey, the movie's going to get too exposed, so let's stop the festivals.
Yeah.
And so that's where we are now.
Well, thanks, guys. Where can everyone watch this film? Where can we see you? When is it coming out? What's some dates?
Schedule released. Release is going to be January 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And you said it's going to be a green carpet, not a red carpet.
Pardon? Red.
said
Yeah,
it's
we're
gonna
going to
be
have a green
carpet.
carpet. Yeah, nice. That'll be fun. Come see our movie, Dark Harvest, at darkharvestmovie.com. What's your story, Vancouver? Our city, our stories.